Yes, ma'am.
Okay, being that it's 6 o'clock, I'm going to call the Coos Bay City Council joint work session to order. Would you all please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you for those in the audience attending and online. I wanted to remind everyone that this work session, we will make no formal decisions on any of the action items discussed in tonight's meeting. I also wanted to let people know that we have Mayor Benetti and Councilor Matthews online, and we're hoping Councilor Kilmer will join us online shortly, and Councilor Cribbins is on the way. So with that said, I'm excited to hear a report from Councilor Stevens. She recently went to Japan on her own dime and went to visit our sister city, Shoshi, Japan. And we have asked Councilor Stevens to give a presentation this evening on her time spent with the local government there. Councilor Stevens?
Thanks. I'm going to stand, if it's okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Christine. I do want to start by saying thank you to Nicole and especially to Christine, who helped communicate back and forth with the city of Choshi and also with Jeff Lamb, who I'm assuming is moving to our area soon. He is very interested in the Sister City program, and Christine was amazing at helping to coordinate everything. So thank you, Christine. Okay. The city of Coos Bay did not contribute any funding to this trip. I might say that a couple times. Okay. A sister city is a state relationship, and it's a broad-based long-term partnership between two communities in two countries. It's a relationship that's officially recognized after the highest elected or appointed official from both communities sign off on an agreement. What's really cool is that this is the 40th year anniversary of our sister city relationship. So it was really awesome to get to visit during that anniversary. Joe and I arrived, Joe, my partner, not Joe Benetti, and I arrived by bullet train from Tokyo to Choshi in the morning, and we were greeted by our translator and two city staff. Immediately we were whisked away to Choshi City Hall, and you'll see here, this is a photo of a display similar to the one that we have here in our city. It highlights Coos Bay and our sister city relationship, and there at the top it says Sister City, Coos Bay, Oregon. We then went upstairs and were greeted with a standing ovation by many city staff and the mayor. It was really humbling. Next, we sat with the mayor and translator and exchanged gifts. I brought a book of photos of the area, specifically highlighting our celebration of Choshi and Mingus Park. I also highlighted photos of our amazing city council and mayor. He presented us with this flag that I will present to you, Lucinda, that I think could go in our display.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah. Next, we took a bunch of photos in front of this step and repeat that they always have there. You'll see I'm holding a sign that says, "I love Choshi." Following our photo shoot, we had lunch together. It was unlike anything I've ever seen or eaten before. We enjoyed talking over lunch, learning more about each other. The mayor is a Choshi native. He was a student of one of the top universities in Japan, majoring in economics. He started his career in Tokyo, and after a few years of work experience, he moved back to Choshi to work for a local newspaper company. He started his tenure as a city councilor in 2007, and in 2013, he was elected mayor. He oversees a staff of roughly 800 people, including the local school district, as it's embedded within the municipality structure. He noted challenges within the city that included a shrinking population, that they're aging, they have a stagnant local economy, a limited budget, and limited manpower for public transportation and education jobs. He also noted a brighter side that included new opportunities for tourism, a strong fishing industry, and growth from the collaboration with a new wind farm project. Next, we left City Hall and went to Coos Park. You'll see that there is a plaque and structure similar to what we have here in Coos They celebrate Steve Prefontaine in this park, and there's, again, a plaque similar to the one we have, along with this structure, like we have at the Visitor Convention Bureau. And this great plaque, which I'll summarize, basically says that the plaque was, it went through some trouble, and Nike Japan actually paid for its reconstruction and for construction of the park. And so they have a thriving Rotary Club there that helped make that happen. And this is right in the center of the city, and lots of celebration of the sister city relationship. After Coos Park, we went and visited the Choshi Temple. It's a Buddhist temple in the center of the city. Staff of the temple took us for the tour on the inside. You can see in, let's see, this photo on the right, that these are beautiful, ornate, hand-painted ceiling tiles. The pagoda that you see there on the left was actually destroyed in World War II and then rebuilt shortly after. And we did not, for some reason, get a picture of it, but there's a giant 30-foot Buddha structure, and you can still see bullet holes from the war in the Buddha. It was intense. I asked our translator about temple etiquette, and he said, you do what feels right to you. Of course, there's rules about taking off your shoes and being respectful, but there isn't a right way to worship or practice spirituality, he said. Next, we went to the Horizon Observatory. Here we met with another city staff member who oversees the offshore wind project. That bottom photo, it's kind of difficult to see, but if you look really closely, you'll see that there's 2 offshore windmills about 5 miles offshore. You can see them both from land, which I've heard would not be the case with our wind farm project. Note. They're undergoing a 5-year study to understand the potential impacts of the fishing industry before they start expanding and collecting power. They do have a land-based wind farm that is on both public and private property that does collect electricity. The offshore wind farm has agreements in place with area fishermen to mitigate impacts and provide funding in case there are any impacts. I think there's lots that we can learn from our sister city about how they're approaching offshore wind and how they're approaching the effects of mitigation towards the fishing industry. You'll see here in this photo, they're showing us how these specific windmills are attached to shore, and they have some bedrock there that allows for that. So lots of great city staff giving me lots of attention. Finally, in the evening, you'll see it's sunset almost this December, so 4 o'clock. We visited the lighthouse and walked the 98 stairs to the top of the lighthouse to get a view of the ocean and the whole city. This was unique because this is where they're trying to start developing tourism within their city. This structure building on your right is a little market full of a couple of coffee shops and a cafe and a place where you can get fresh fish and a local rice cake. The train station there is trying to come up with additional ways to fund their operations, and so they've made a really famous rice cake that you can find all over the country. Then city staff took us back to the train station, and we headed to Osaka. I'm really humbled to get to represent our city with the people of Choshi, and overall it was a really great visit, so thanks.
Councillor Stevens, thank you so much, and thank you for representing us there. What a wonderful opportunity for all. So, and we will put this flag, place it somewhere of honor in the council. Chambers, thank you, Nicole. The next item on the agenda is the Incident Command System Training and incentives. And I hope we're going to focus a lot on those incentives. Chief Anderson.
And I have some visuals, so. I really need one of those microphones I can walk around with and use both hands when talking and that kind of thing, but we'll make do with what we've got. So, good evening, Council. In 2023, so last year, staff applied for a grant, a state Homeland Security grant, that would provide an incentive for completion of ICS training. ICS stands for Incident Command Systems. It's a national standard, that along with NIMS, which is National Incident Management Systems. So those are two different types of command structures that are a national standard that are required for organizations, particularly cities and counties, that are requesting either grant funding or mitigation funding or recovery funding. So in order to receive federal funding, we need to show that we have made a significant effort to get staff, particularly those that are responsible for emergency response, trained to emergency management or incident management systems. So this grant provides backpack emergency survival kits to reward those employees, volunteers, and elected officials that have met the FEMA requirements of incident command system training and incentivize those that have yet to complete the courses. The survival kit contains items that may help city employees, volunteers, and elected officials through the first several days after a disaster. So this is the visual part. So I'll try to speak loudly so you can hear me. We have these lovely backpacks. And they can whistle. So chase away zombies. Rope. Scissors. Duct tape. First aid kit. Okay. Do you want me to start over? No. Okay. In addition, we have a survival blanket, a pocket knife, multi-pocket knife, kind of like a Swiss Army knife, a lighter for starting fires, it's job security for us, a flashlight that does not require batteries, it's a shake it to make it work, a emergency poncho or a waterproof poncho so you can stay dry, tissues or toilet paper, emergency drinking water, a screwdriver, and some food, which guaranteed tastes better than it looks. And that's about it. So all in this handy dandy kit. I'll turn this back off. There we go. So that's the contents of the kit. The city has 127 paid employees, 14 volunteers, and 7 elected officials. This program was also intended to incentivize our CERT volunteers, which we don't really know how many we have. You received a presentation from CERT about a month and a half ago, and what we know how many are in the county, but we really don't know how many live within our response area, and so this is intended to help us get a better grasp of who we could expect in the event of an unscheduled disaster. A little bit about compliance. So the city began this year, 2024, with roughly 63% of our employees, volunteers, and elected officials meeting or exceeding the ICS training requirements. Over the past 6 weeks, that percentage of compliance has risen to 83%. So we're well on our way to to being where we need to be or should be. These emergency kits become the property of the employee or the volunteer or the elected official. If you already, well, they're great for putting in your home, your office, your vehicle, or if you already consider yourself prepared, they can be regifted to a loved one. Nothing says I care about you or care about your well-being post-disaster like an emergency kit. This is a limited time offer, so we encourage you to complete your training and get your very own emergency kit while supplies last. Are there any questions? If you can't remember how to, again, this training is online, so you can, at your leisure, log on and create a federal identification number and complete the training. It takes about 2 hours per class. There's 2 classes required for elected officials. And here's some information, and I'll pass these out for the people that, if you would like to pursue that. So, give that to you.
Thank you, Chief Anderson. If I remember correctly, last year, I think it was, or a few years back, it was Counselor Miles, thank you, who completed the training. Did he get to, I think you promised him a ride in the fire truck, so is that not on the table now that we have these wonderful backpacks?
The backpack was intended to be an upgrade to the ride on the fire truck, but hopefully this will incentivize anyone that has not yet complied with the required training to complete that training. Not going to name names, but
So I'm hoping maybe if I just received a text from Counselor Miles, who happens to be watching, and he wanted me to let you know that he didn't receive a gift from completing his training.
Must be present to win.
Yes, must be present to win. In all seriousness, any questions from the council? No? Okay, thank you, Chief Anderson.
Sure. And Councilor Miles, come by anytime.
The next item on the agenda is the consideration of preferred Christmas tree type for the downtown area. And that's going to be handled by Jim tonight?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thanks, Jim.
Good evening. Janice, the Executive Director with the Visitor and Convention Bureau, has requested that the city consider installing an artificial tree in the VIC parking lot during the holiday season. The advantage of an artificial tree is they can be purchased with lighting integrated within the tree. They also offer consistent shape and fullness, which is not always the case with a natural tree. It is possible to have a contractor to install and maintain and store the artificial tree as well each year. The city has traditionally displayed a cut natural tree for the VIC parking lot and the Empire display. City staff has ordered the trees from tree farms along the I-5 corridor and had them delivered to the city. With a natural tree, the shape may not be perfect. It may not be as consistent in fullness as we sometimes desire. The city staff must insert the tree into the permanent stand and string the lights. As we would need to prepare an advertisement of bids this spring, if an artificial tree is desired, staff is requesting council consider and discuss your preference. As far as budget implications, the source of funding is the hotel motel fund. While we don't have an exact cost for an artificial tree, a 40-foot tall pre-lit tree is expected to cost in the vicinity of $50,000. And if we were to contract out the care and storage of the artificial tree, might bring the cost up to about $85,000. That would be for probably a 5-year contract, but we'd know the numbers if we went out to bid. The natural trees we have traditionally purchased, like we did this year for the VIC, it was a 44-foot tall tree. It was about $12,000, and a 28-foot tree for the Empire area was $4,000. And that does not include staff time and efforts to raise those trees. And Janice did say that the Visitor and Convention Bureau may, underline, be able to contribute slight amount to the artificial tree if we were to go that route.
Before I open it up for questions, one of the questions I had, Jim, was in terms of staff time. I don't feel like I have enough information right now to make an informed decision. I think it would be interesting if you could put together the staff time to set up and tear it down, and then staff time when you have to go back out when there's been a windstorm or a rainstorm, because we know that does happen from time to time in December, what that looks like to allow us to make a better decision going forward. And then my second question is, in terms of storage, do we have the means to store the tree if we were to purchase an artificial tree?
It would, we're very tight at the city shops as it is, so the area depends on how that what you require could be significant.
Okay, great. I have had many conversations with the executive director of the VCB in regards to this. I think from her perspective, it was the number of lights, staff not having to go out and redo this. Probably, yes, there's the fullness of the tree. It's kind of your preference if you like a real tree or an artificial tree. And I think that was part of the reasoning, and the number of ornaments and just making it easier for staff. We've also seen that North Bend has a tree that I think has been really well received and popular for them. So with that said, I'm going to stop talking and ask if any of the other counselors have any comments or questions.
Looks like for a 5-year period, with the exclusion of staff time, the cost is about equal between the two for the annual expense, but I am really bad at holiday things. I have no particular preference on tree type.
Go ahead.
I actually calculate that at 7 years, Counselor Farmer. If we take, 7 times 12,000, that actually gets us to about that average. And I see my friend Google says artificial Christmas trees last 10 years. And so I don't know that we would realize a huge cost savings from one over the other.
Councilor Cribbins, any comments?
It's a no-brainer for me. I'm a natural tree all the way. Doesn't matter what you tell me. Natural tree.
All right. We also have, by the way, Councilor Cribbins and Councilor Kilmer are here. Stephanie actually is online. So it looks like Councilor Matthews has a comment.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say my piece. I'm a natural tree person all the way. We live in a rich forested land, and the fact of bringing in a piece of plastic to represent what we do well here, which is grow trees, just baffles me. I'm pretty strong on keeping it natural, and I think that there's plenty of ways where we could maybe even use this to the benefit of the community I'm not sure what we do with the tree after we're done with it. Do we cut it into sections and give it away for firewood to someone who might need it? I know Salvation Army takes firewood. Maybe we could put out a contest for people here who want to donate a tree or sell a tree instead of going to the I-5 corridor. So maybe we could find something more local. We grow trees here. I just don't understand putting a bunch of plastic up and calling it some kind of representation for our natural habitat. So that's just my personal preference.
Thank you, Councilor Matthews. Mayor Benetti?
I'll make it short. I agree with Troy and what's been said by natural tree, and everything else has been said. I just think that's how we should continue on with our area being, related to woods and trees and all that stuff. And then Stephanie's here, so she can make her own comments now.
Councilor Kilmer?
Yeah, I am so happy to hear this. I'm absolutely elated that the council feels, the councilors who have spoken so far. I know everybody would like to have perfection, and as somebody said today, if we strive for perfection, we're probably never going to achieve that. So good is sometimes just good enough. And sometimes the imperfections that come with a natural tree is just the beauty that we have here. And I am team real tree all the way. You know, as long as I'm on the council, that's what I'm going to fight for.
Okay. I don't think, I still, if the staff will humor me, it might be nice to see what that staff time is. And the reason I say that is Councillor Kilmer and I had a conversation of perhaps there is a local company who could decorate that tree, which means the staff wouldn't have to do that. That might be an option. So if you would still humor me and provide what that staff time and cost looks like, I think that would be beneficial for the conversation. But what I hear is natural tree all the way. I think this council has spoken. So if there's no other comments, we'll move to the last item on the agenda this evening, which is a discussion regarding Date Avenue vacation. And Jennifer, I think that goes to you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Christine. So Christine's going to pull up a PowerPoint. In January, the mayor and council asked staff to take a look at the feasibility of vacating a portion of Date Avenue. This is the portion of Date Avenue that is east of North Front Street, and there's an exhibit right there. Okay. So staff has performed some research to date. We've notified all the utilities, so the Pac Power, the Northwest Natural, all the telecommunications, nobody came back with any significant concerns. So that's one kind of challenge that we solved there. This area is in the Front Street Blueprint. If you look there, it's kind of hard to see, but it's identified as Area 15. And it's an overlook, but it's not prioritized the same as the Birch and Alder Avenue, so it's not a Phase 1 overlook. And the blueprint does emphasize there should be flexibility, as with any plan. So unless there is opposition by the mayor and council, staff doesn't see any issue with vacating this with respect to looking at the Front Street Blueprint. So the Division of State Lands, whenever we look at vacating vacations next to a waterway, we need to reach out to DSL. So staff has done that. And DSL has no ownership on the land side, but they do have, and they say ownership on the waterward side. Basically, they want approval should it ever get developed. So they want to, I guess we have to apply for an application to vacate this, and then should it ever get approved in the future, you're gonna have to go through DSL. There's an application fee associated with that, but other than that, they didn't see any issues with this vacation. Staff also notified the port, and once the port got all the information, they did not have any concerns with taking this to their commission, with the caveat that they wanted a public access maintained, whether it be along Date or maybe somewhere else opened up. So during this investigation, we came across a couple potential challenges that we have to work through. And right now, especially with this first one, we really haven't solved it yet. So we have an Oregon statewide planning goal. And basically it says if we vacate a right-of-way that is adjacent to water, we need to maintain public access. So I kind of referred to this just a few minutes ago. We're looking to see if that access, public access, has to occur within the Date Avenue vacated limits, or can we open up a new access elsewhere? And the applicant is actually willing to grant the city an access maybe on the private property to the north. So we still need to do a bit more research on that one. Also, there's a storm drain that goes through this portion of Date Avenue. You can see that blue area that I outlined. So per our municipal code, and it's based on depths, we have to have an easement, an access and maintenance easement of 25 feet. And this isn't a formal survey, but just based on some rough measurements, it looks like it gives, at least to the south side, adjacent to the Ironworks building, about 15 feet of unobstructed land. So this was just an investigation. To date, Heidi Sauce who's the applicant, she has submitted a vacation application. She did that, I think, February 1st. So staff is processing that. The Port Commission will meet on the 15th. Port staff will take this vacation request to them. We need to survey the existing limits of the vacation and the storm drain because we have to create and execute maintenance easements. We need to coordinate with DLCD a bit more to understand the whole public access requirement, and then we need to gain approval from DSL with a formal application. Typically, these costs, we would put that responsibility on the applicant, but I did want to just pose that to the mayor and council. We're going to have some costs associated with surveys, and we're going to have some costs associated with application fees through DSL. So at this time, staff was going to find out what those costs were and then present those to the applicant unless there's a different path you want staff to take. So that's the end of this presentation.
Okay. I have some comments on this, but I know that Mayor Benetti was really the one who led the charge on this request. So I'm going to let Mayor Benetti speak first. Joe, any comments?
Yeah, thank you. So for a little background on this, some time ago when Roger was still the city manager, we met with Heidi and Sauce and Dale, and they are refurbishing the Coos Bay Ironworks. And to do that, they were replacing the structures and the pilings underneath. And to accommodate this, they also needed some area on the north side, which they didn't have. In our discussions, we were talking giving them 20 feet. And that seemed feasible to them at that time. And then she was also asking that that could be fenced in so there wouldn't be any issues with anyone getting to the Coos Bay Ironworks when it wasn't available. So we thought that was all workable. Now, then this vacation came up, which is fine, but I still think that we need a public access. Our Front Street Blueprint plan, even though maybe it doesn't highlight this as being the first or second and maybe not necessary, I can tell you the intent that on that panel, which I served, and I think Lucinda did, and so did Lucinda, that it wasn't our intent that there be public access and viewing spots all along the waterfront and these areas. I would not want to give that up. So I think we could probably meet DLCD's requirements if we kept a 25-foot access would accompany our utilities, but also give access out to that area. And that would still accommodate more than enough property for Heidi and on the Coos Bay Ironworks, and the intent that that's where I was going. So, I mean, at some point in time, I think in the past, I've mentioned this to Nate and how we could just give so much property instead of going through the vacation period. We never got there, and it's come to this point, which is fine, but I still think I would not be supportive of this unless we still have access in a viewing area for the public, because that was always my intent. And I believe the Blueprint Front Street group also.
Thank you, Mayor Benetti. Councilors, any other comments? Councilor Cribbins.
Maybe a little clarification for me. I'm looking at the map. I'm seeing the red box. And so from the edge of from the north edge of the Ironworks building out to the other edge of the red line, that's 25 feet? And that's the part we're wanting to vacate?
Jennifer, could you put that back up on the screen?
Yeah, Christine, would you mind?
Yeah.
So this Dade Avenue width is 60 feet.
Okay.
There's a storm drain that kind of runs down the middle of it, and it's the 25-foot easement that we would center over that storm drain is what we're asking for, and I'll get a graphic for you here in just a minute.
Okay.
And I think
I'm
what
sorry,
the mayor,
I didn't hear all that. 25 feet?
So there's a 25-foot wide storm drain access and maintenance easement that we would request.
Okay, so.
And I think what the mayor was saying, and please correct me, is that the public access could be incorporated into that storm drain easement. So can you see it? You might be able to look behind.
Yeah, I can
Okay.
see it.
So
So the blue line is the storm drain,
the storm drain access and maintenance easement,
and the vacation request is for the full 60-foot width of the street.
correct? It's the red
And
box.
we're talking about putting an access, or Mayor Benetti is suggesting that we have public access along that 20-foot 25-foot right-of-way over the storm drain?
I call it an easement, but yes.
An easement, okay.
And that was the original intent of the Front Street Blueprint Committee, was to have, as Mayor Benetti talked about, different locations along that area for overlook areas and access to the water.
Okay, so what is the 400 feet to the north of isn't that accessible, and isn't that a view to
It's private property.
You know, in the future, and so
Right,
we
but-
still have that responsibility for those viewpoints.
Right, but we could discuss that with those individuals that are going to develop that. I mean, this is a process that's happening right now, and I don't see how that's gonna, I mean, I suppose I would want to talk to the applicant to find out what their plans were, if they were gonna block that so you couldn't see. I'm having trouble visualizing how, I mean, I realize we need the easement to access the storm drain.
Picture a dock. Picture like at the end of that, right? Right at the end, picture that there is a dock going out and there are benches and there's people having access to see, see the bay.
So
and
I get
things
that
like
part, that can't be designed in the 400 feet to the north of that?
We don't own, I think the conversation currently is we don't own that property.
Gotcha. So what we're saying is potentially we're discussing a vacation of our city property. But we
Correct.
would like to maintain a space 25 foot through the middle of it to fit in with the plans.
Absolutely.
Okay. And has that idea been discussed with the applicant?
I don't know, we have the applicant here this evening. Before we ask her perhaps if she wants to comment, are there any other comments from council?
Yeah, let me just clarify what Jennifer said, and I agree. If we could encompass all, so we have the 25 access that we need for the maintaining the easement for our utilities. So even if we made it 25 or 30, have that be the viewing point, have it be also, then we have access to our utilities. And then also, I can tell you, I sit on the LOAC committee, which is an advisory committee to DLCD. They are very passionate about having access to waterways with Goal 17. This is not something, we just had this discussion at our last meeting, and this is something that they are going to pursue heavily. So I don't know if they would even be willing to do it. So in my opinion, if we kept this 25 feet or 30 feet to accompany the viewing, the overlook that we want, and their utilities, and accommodate DLCD, it's a win-win all the way around. And then the applicant, Heidi, can still have the other property on both. The way this would have to be is half would go to Heidi Sauce, Coos Bay Iron Works, the other half would go to, I don't know who owns the other property, is it Dale and Heidi together or what? But anyway, there's two different properties there. But as long as we can keep the middle part, I think we can get it all resolved. That's my opinion.
Okay, so I hear that, that makes sense, but I suppose I would, at some point, like to find out what the applicant's plan for the vacation was, and if that would be a significant impediment to what their plan was.
Well, we're fortunate to have Heidi in the audience
I
this
realize I'm
evening.
just trying to,
Keep them
Get us
separate.
there.
I
Yes.
hear you, yeah. If there are no other comments, Heidi, did you want to make any comments this evening?
Nobody else has anything to say?
Any other comments from council? No.
Sure. Jennifer told me I should show up. And so and I have to apologize because I don't hear well at all, and most of what you said was muffled. I don't see very well, and I couldn't see the small print, so I'm shooting from the hip. And I know what the property looks like, but what my husband believes, and I checked with him, he wouldn't come. So right before I left, I made sure that I knew what his thoughts were. And we have been Joe did relay early on discussions when we got the ironworks, I think January of 2021, and it is literally, I think one of the reasons that it had such a hard time selling was that it's landlocked and there's no land that went with that building on the north or the south. It's absolutely built to the property lines. So that's what we were asking for. If we could have an easement or some area where there's a deck built on the north side, and that was there when we got it, and it needs to be repaired. Some of the early engineering to repair the pilings had to go and be secured outside of our property ownership. So these conversations were at the early onset of the plans to engineer, which we finally got after 2 years. So we were able to do all the repairs underneath the building without needing that. And over the course of those 2 years, the conversations morphed where why don't we just go for a vacation up Date Street? And Sauce Brothers, Sauce Brothers owns, it used to be Hillstrom's shipyard, and the view used to be completely, there was no view. Dale spent, and this is, not a corporate secret, but over $1 million to tear that down. It was a shipyard and used to be a creamery, but he had such problems with the homeless going in there, and that they finally just tore it down and gravelled it and cleaned it up, and so it looks like a vacant parking lot, and it is vacant right now, but he has plans to restore the dock and use the dock. They used to have vessels that tie up at the casino, but they are hoping to come back and tie it up at their own place. So I can't tell you what they're going to do with it, other than I know that they are researching to restore that dock and have it be what it was. So the acreage above to the north is to be determined. However, when this all happened rather suddenly, I thought he and I thought that the city and all of our to-do list was going along well. And then I think yesterday morning, Chelsea said that, and I don't know the acronym, it's what's DC, what does that acronym stand for?
Excuse me, Department of Land Conservation and Development.
So that group said that they want to have, if they give up right-of-ways, they want to have easement for public access. And so we quickly had a conversation. Dale and Sauce Brothers is willing to give or trade or mitigate or barter or whatever you want to call it. And I like real estate, and I think I'm pretty good at real estate. And if I had a choice between which one, if I was the public, I'd take the north one. And so and I know Joe would like to have the on top of the easement, and we totally understand that you need an easement to for the infrastructure. So no problem with that. But we Dale and I and Sauce Brothers would like to, if there's going to be a vacating of the street, then we were going to, and the conversation had morphed into Ironworks gets half, and and Sauce Brothers gets half, and then when this division thing came up, we said, okay, well, how about you take the whole north end, which is a more scenic view. It's already tying into the museum, the parking lot, a waterway put in. I'm sure that it is also on the Front Street blueprint. And you direct the public to a safer spot with a better view. Having them going in between, an unknown what the use is going to be, and it could be, it could be something industrial that, it isn't particularly, there's going to have to be fencing and cleanup of, picking up of litter. And I can go into a litany of reasons why, and they're valid reasons. And I've just had it up to about here with reality on what happens down there. And we just aren't interested at all. To the point of if it doesn't get vacated, okay? We got our pilings put in. Would I still enjoy having the vacated street? Yes. Is there any problem with the easement? Not at all. We understand that. I think at one point Dale even offered to help fix with that storm drain. And I think he stands by that. He has the equipment and the manpower, and I don't know about how the liability would work out, Jim, if we built something, but yeah, we just have no interest whatsoever in the public going through there. So,
So if, I want to clarify, Heidi, thanks for being here. So the 60-foot wide easement.
right,
So what you're suggesting is the 30 or 25 feet north side of it, you'd be willing to
north side of, you called the 400 feet,
okay.
clear up.
So you're saying access on a part that's not even in the map? It's
Correct.
above
Well,
the
I
north
think
part.
I think it might be in the map if they put it back up. Troy can't see that far.
Yeah.
But it's at,
But the
you
other
know,
end of that property,
pardon?
the other end of that piece of property.
Correct.
Okay.
The very far north end, there's, you know, if you see pictures, Brian Coleman, the photographer in town, used to be in town, I'm sorry he left, he would always take pictures of the piling down there, and it's just an iconic area. Kind of, it's a postcard area for Coos Bay.
So you'd be willing to just donate some of
Can
your
I
land?
point it out? Can I point it out?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not on the map.
Yes, it's up there. You'd be willing to donate a piece of that for public access, so that south part would be solid.
Yes. You don't have, does it roll down, scroll down?
No, this is the only picture.
I think I got it.
It's,
Geographically, I
it's
got it
like,
figured out.
not this one, but the better one, you know, the better sister up the street. And I think Joe, you know, and I think Joe wants more, and my argument would be, it's more or it's equal because it's better.
No, I agree. I mean, with that.
Who's agreeing? I can't.
That's, Mayor Benetti, would you like
Okay.
to make a comment? Your hand is raised. Joe?
I agree with Heidi's proposal and Dale's. I think it's a better view, and it's a win-win all the way around. So they can, and we still have the easement, which they're willing to help us with. So we still have the view, which is a better area down there towards the museum. Dale's been very kind to also offer us some of that property with the pilings for our walkway that we're talking about to tie into the museum. So I think it'd be a better spot overall and would work better. And I think it's a gracious offer. I think it's something that we should accept, or I would suggest that we accept. So.
Councillor Matthews, you have a comment?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Uh-huh.
Okay. I would just like to concur with the mayor on that one. The property to the north is, I would say, heavily visited already as just a viewpoint. So it's already kind of naturally the use that we're looking for. And this little right-of-way to the north of the Ironworks building is just kind of disjointed in terms of like its public access potential. So I really think that the way we go with this and having the ability to, with an easement, be able to maintain that city structure, the city-owned structure of the sewer line, sewer outfall, and doing some kind of trade with the applicants, that sounds dreamy to me. And I just want to say thank you for being creative and trying to find a solution with us, Heidi and Dale. Really nice to see you all working with us, and I know you're doing great things down there. And honestly, if we can help you in your endeavor to restore and preserve the Ironworks building, I am all for it.
Thank you, Councillor Matthews. Commissioners, any other comments?
Yeah, I guess that was just what I was trying to clarify. It made much more sense to me just to have that be whatever their
Yep.
use was, and then we could do the visual someplace else.
I agree. I think,
Also-
so, Councillor Matthews.
Sorry, I just texted you all, I believe, the parcel. You might be able to see it on your phone. I tried to send it to you. It's the parcel right there. There's a bite just to the south of the History Museum. Hopefully you guys can see it, but I just sent you a screenshot from the county assessor's page.
Great. Councillor Cribbins. Any other comments?
Lucinda, I couldn't raise my hand because I can't find it on my phone.
Okay.
So it's a much larger parcel of property then, or is that over water? I couldn't tell.
It's a larger parcel of property that overlooks the water.
Okay, and it's on that corner that Carmen sent?
Yes,
Photo.
that is correct.
Well, that seems almost like a no-brainer.
I couldn't agree more. I think that we've been given more information this evening from Heidi and Dale, that I think the city knows the direction we need to go. So perhaps if the city will continue meeting with Heidi and Dale and figuring out what next steps are and what that piece is and come back to council and let us know what that looks like. I think we've given you our opinion on how we'd like to see this move forward. And I would like to thank Heidi and Dale for really when being on that Front Street blueprint plan all those years ago, imagining what that might look like, and for the two of you to put that amount of investment in that area. I walk it a lot, as you well know. It's a game changer, and I know that there are challenges down there, but it's such a beacon of, in my mind, of hope and future development. So I really can't thank you enough for all of your efforts.
Well, thank you. I got one kind of exciting bit of news for all of us, because we're all in this together, and the second apartment down there is getting, the keys getting passed over tomorrow. So we now have 2 residents, and I had one question, Chelsea. Do you think you'll have luck with that agency, that you can convince them of a sensible outcome?
Right. So the language is in the goal, and it talks about, in the one hand, existing rights of way that provide access to or along coastal waters shall be retained or replaced if sold, exchanged, or transferred. And then on the other hand, it says, rights of way may be vacated to permit redevelopment of shoreland areas, provided public access across the affected site is retained. So there's that. I have begged the question of DLCD, is a swap not acceptable? And they have said in the case of a vacation that they don't believe it is. And
Sorry, Chelsea, they don't believe it is possible?
it is not acceptable. So this is from staff. So we haven't raised this question up any kind of legal chains, and whether or not that's necessary, whether or not the city wants to take an interpretation and support it with findings and feel good about that. I don't know that I'm going to change DLCD's mind on a staff level. It may be something that that happens higher up in the chain, with legal experts. But I don't also think it's unreasonable a block away to provide a similar public access. And I just say that from my point of view, planner, but I am not a legal expert. So there's still more to kind of be fleshed out with that, and whether or not we feel solid, we're standing on solid ground. I can't comfortably say yes or no right now.
So this is what we'd like, but Jennifer, you were going to make a comment as well. So what I'm hearing is this is what we like, but we need to do additional work to see if we can make the movie happen.
We just need to finish processing the application and flesh all these issues out, and then we can present any challenges at a later date if we need to.
Okay. Heidi, does that answer your question?
So do I wait to hear from you? There's the March 13th port decision, or maybe the day after, or whenever they get it back to you. And then there's when you tell me, I guess I sit and wait, Dale and I sit and wait to come down to the office and pay for an application and proceed or not.
So I think Tanya has sent you an email with your application fee. Is that not?
I haven't got that.
Okay, well, I'll make sure that happens tomorrow. So we need to get your application fee, and we're going to start processing this application.
Why would I apply if Chelsea says she can't guarantee me that it's going to go through?
Well, how about this then? We can work on Chelsea's issue and then see if this is viable. We can vet out the DLCD issue, and if it's not viable,
yeah,
So yeah, Heidi, it sounds like you're in a bit of a holding pattern
Yeah.
until we figure out more from DLCD, and once we figure that out,
Okay.
then we can
Perfect.
decide how to move forward. But in our movie, I think we want what you want, Heidi, and it's just if we can make that happen. Counselor Matthews, I see your hand is up again.
Yeah, I was just gonna relay some information. I'm dealing with a lot of rights of way and vacation issues in terms of the Lighthouse Beach situation. And from what I understand, this is obviously not a legal perspective, but I don't know what the historical use in terms of public access has been on that particular right of way. I don't believe it's been very heavy, but I might be wrong. It being a notoriously used right of way, I don't usually see very many people down there, if at all. I don't know if I've seen anybody down there, but Heidi would have a better understanding of that. I do see people at the other spot, the northern parcel over by the History Museum. I'm hoping that we can appeal to the DLCD's better judgment and they can see the obvious benefit. It's very close. It's safer. It's more approachable. It's more scenic. It ties in with our blueprint plan. I mean, I think we've got the right case, and we just need to go through the steps.
Great, thank you, Councillor Matthews. Mayor Benetti?
Well, I guess, Chelsea, why do they have to even roll on this? We just have a finding and send it up. I mean, I don't understand why DLCs would get involved in this. We're not taking a viewing space away.
Chelsea, would you like to answer that question?
I think that DLCD is involved in the sense of they've recently been here educating us on this, what's applicable goal, statewide planning goal 17 that deals with shorelands, which is an area that this right-of-way is within. And so making sure we're aware of this piece of the goal that says cities are responsible to provide and maintain public access to shorelands, and these are what we do if and when one is going to be removed or vacated. So they've just, on a staff level, provided that guidance, and we, on a staff level, are trying to work through what that really means for the city. Not to say that it hasn't ever been, I think the city has vacated right-of-ways on the shorelands before without any kind of intervention from DLCD. So it's just a matter of they're aware now.
Well, but the thing is, this has not been accessible. It has not been available for a viewing area. It's been fenced off for years. So we're not, what I'm saying is that we're going to be giving something that we don't have right now. So for DLC to come in and rule in that fashion, I don't understand. I mean, I don't think there's even a ruling they need to make here. I think we just move forward. But I mean, we're just asking for, again, a clarification, just like we're on the UGB, which is really, in my opinion, not necessary. But am I correct? I mean, is there any statute or ruling that says that we can't do this?
I don't know that there's statute or ruling. I just am aware that it is in the statewide planning goal. So yeah, for me, there's more research to do. I can't give you a definitive answer.
Yeah, so I can tell you in the meeting I had, was it 2 days ago, that we talked about goal 17 and the access for right-of-ways to the beaches, and what I think that's where they were really going. I just didn't come up too much how this would integrate, but I can tell you it's a goal that's being developed. So I don't even know if it would pertain to us in this instance at this time, I guess.
Thank you for your comments, Mayor Benetti. Chelsea, I think, again, to Joe's point, sounds like we have more, and you've said it, more research. And Mayor Benetti is also on a committee with that group, so I would imagine he will be sending information on to them and asking the same questions. So maybe we can get it from both ends. I see that Councillor Kilmer has her hand up.
Oh, I was just going to say, if I recall, that property had been fenced in and had, but I think that's what Mayor Benetti just said as well. It was not accessible, and I don't know how the state would view it. as probably temporary, but, you know, it seems logical to me, so that's why probably we're looking at some hoops to go through, because logic doesn't always prevail when we're dealing with those agencies.
Well, we'll hope for the best. Any other comments on this topic? Okay. The last item on the agenda this evening is public comment, and I think we have one public comment, but before we begin with public comment, I would just like to read this statement. The public comment period is designated for topics not already included on the agenda and is intended for the public to share ideas and concerns. It is not intended for an interactive discussion with council. There may be opportunities for public comments during specific agenda items, and members of the public are requested to confine their remarks to questions or issue under discussion during this time. During any designated comment period, individuals shall not engage in personal attacks, shall not impugn the motives of any speaker, and shall at all times while in session conduct themselves in an appropriate manner. No person shall make personal, impertinent, slanderous, or unauthorized remarks or become boisterous while addressing the council. If they do, they will be removed from council chambers immediately. With that said, Cricket, would you like to give us an update, I think, on the Oregon Heritage Conference?
I do.
Okay.
The Oregon Heritage Commission is made up of volunteers from throughout the state, and I have a list of those, so they cover the whole width and breadth of the state. And they have 4 sessions a year that they meet. And the next one coming up will be at the Oregon Heritage Conference, which is a 2-day, which is a 1-day, well, it's a long day event. For them, it's a meeting in April up in Forest Grove. So the suggestion from Curry Gill is that the following conference, which would be 2 days in July, that if the council chose, they could send an invitation inviting them to host their meeting down here. There's some real advantages of that because they see what nice stuff we have and what's going on. It'll be the start of the Oregon Coast Music Association, the start of the Coos County Fair, and they can be appreciating what all is going on as well as having their meeting. And at that time, if we get the all-star designation together and the application approved, they might also be able to present that at that time. So it's asking for the council and mayor to send an invitation that would arrive probably by the 1st of April to be presented to them.
Well, I think that's super exciting. I know the Mill Casino has been a host of the conference before, and I will just go on a side note to report out that I went many, many years ago to a heritage conference in Astoria, where I learned all about how they had improved their waterfront, which made me very passionate about developing our waterfront. So it's a really great conference, and I would encourage the city and the councilors to participate in the event if we can get it here in July. Any comments, councilors?
Sounds great.
Nicole, any comments in regards to that?
I was just going to say that I could perhaps reach out to the folks at the VCB because they have coordinated some of these conference efforts in the past.
Great.
And we know they're all-stars, so.
Perfect. Okay, Cricket, thank you so much for the information, and there is information right here on our...
Just a brief amount just on the dates and the
Okay.
times when things would need to be presented.
Great.
And there's generally no real expense to the city as such in that because they go and visit other things. So they might need a space, but I'm sure there's places here or at the Egyptian that they could use for meetings.
Wonderful.
So.
Great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Any other public comment this evening? Okay, being that there are none, are there any councilor comments? Well, I hope to have this meeting wrapped up by 7. It is 7:03. So with that, I will, Mayor Benetti, councilor comment.
I'm going to let you off that way. Nice try. A couple things. First of all, I want to thank Sarah for making the presentation and also going to Choshi, Japan on her trip to Japan and representing us. So thank you very much. Also, I think we should waive the fees for the vacation of this piece of property that we're talking about on date for the Sauce Brothers vacation. That's my 2 cents and my...
Thank you, Mayor Benetti. Councilor Matthews?
I'd just like to concur with the mayor on that one. I think that this is a very generous offer of a swap, and I think that that deserves a working agreement that would be able to help things just move a little easier and show our gratitude. So that's all I have.
Great, thank
Joe
you.
broke the seal.
Okay, Councilor Farmer.
Figure I'd give an update on the surplus land effort. I'm going to have a meeting with the Oregon Emergency Management next week. They want to talk more about the 5 acres that ODOT owns in Eastside for potential surplus and development, similar to what we've already done with city property. And next week, I've got a meeting with the Oregon Military Department's Director of Installations and Chief of State Affairs for the National Guard Depot. Looking at the National Guard Depot, it's another 5 acres, maybe as housing. In a conversation, it came up that it also would be an alternate site depending on what happens with the east side site. So always good to have contingency plans. I've been down there a lot, and I brought up to them they don't have much activity there. And last bit, went to the hospital today to check on a former client and friend that's got to have a stay on the ward, and talk to Brian, the CEO, while I was there. And it sounds like OHA has produced its first numbers about the state hospital in many, many years. And they came up, I hope I heard him wrong, came up that they are short 3,000 beds. The current facility has about 620 beds as of 2012, and I did a little history check. Back in the mid-50s, they had about 3,500 patients when the state was less than half its current size. So it doesn't seem unreasonable that with 620 beds, we would be short 3,000. Hence, how many people we see on the streets not receiving care, and the severity and just the general lack of performance. By no fault of the state's hospital staff. I mean, this is just the cards they're handed. But yeah, some good, some bad.
Yeah, thank you for that update, Drew. I'm giving Councilor Cribbins or Councilor Stevens one more opportunity to make comment. Okay, so with that said, I have no comments, and this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.